Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and today I want to talk to all you DPS mains, all you either defense or offense ones, that are really having a big problem in this tank meta. And I kind of want to tell you guys what I've been using when I play DPS, to try to, go against this tank meta at least a little bit, and be able to play just a bit stronger. Now, of course, as always, picking a tank is probably your best bet in this meta. They're just the best characters in the game right now, other than Soldier, I guess. But if you want to keep playing the characters that you like, want to keep playing your defense or offense characters, then hopefully some of these will help you just a little bit. As well, quite a few of these are mainly reminders, but things that I often see people ignoring when they're playing DPS in this meta, just because they don't really think about it, because, they're fighting tanks. Anyways, let's get straight onto this. So, the first thing that I feel like you really need to drill into your mind is that you have to prioritize the supports. And in a lot of cases, you kind of have to, ignore the tanks. Especially if you're playing like Hanzo, if your E's not up, or if you're playing somebody like McCree or someone like Widowmaker. If you're targeting the tanks, well, Ana can just instantly heal them back up, and essentially your damage is just doing absolutely nothing. It's charging your ult, but it's also charging the enemy support's ult, so you're really having no effective damage. The thing that's really nice about you though as an offense character is that if you play well, and if you kind of ignore the tanks a little bit, if you play at a medium range and just try to snipe the enemy supports, well, if you can kill one of the enemy supports, or even two, your tanks are going to be doing a lot better than theirs, and you can probably go in. Really, taking away healing is extremely important in this meta. When you have all these different tanks, it's kind of hard for the tanks to kill the healers, so if you can do that yourself, well, you really give your team a huge advantage. And just say that's one of the things you have to do. A lot of people think this, but when they're actually playing in-game, they just completely ignore the supports and, hit the people right in front of them because it's a lot easier. Anyways, so the next thing up, I'd also say, kind of as an extension to this, if you are playing an offense hero that has the ability, like Reaper, Genji, Tracer, anything like that, try to flank the supports, and of course, if you're somebody, such as Widowmaker or somebody such as McCree, try to kill them at, like, a medium range where the tanks can't insta-give you. Pretty much just try to kill the supports, flanking around them, at a range where Roadhog can't hook you. I know it's a little bit hard, and trying to get headshots at that range can be a bit more difficult than just trying, to get melee range to kill the supports. But if you're at a further range behind them, it'll be really hard for them to get assistance from all their tanks. While if you just melee range next to them, sure, you can kill them a lot faster, but often you're going to get hooked, you're going to get hit by D.Va, or they're just going to get a shield by Zarya and then just walk up and kill them. So yeah, it's a little bit hard, but if you can have the possibility, also try to flank the supports and stay at a medium-ish far range, not really get close up. As well with that, I just say, really overall, in this meta, just don't try to get melee range with really any of the characters except for, I guess, Reaper, because it's just very easy for all these tanks to beat you close up. They're all amazing melee range, and they're doing a lot more DPS than you melee range, so you do have to kind of abuse your middle range damage, your middle and far range damage. If you can get that out, if you can get that done and start to kill the opponents with that, you'll do really well. But if you keep trying to, win, like, melee range skirmishes, you're going to keep losing because they have a lot more health, they have a decent amount more damage, and even someone like Soldier can't 1v1 a melee range D.Va, so you do have to get that medium range or that further range to win. Just do remember that. Don't get close up, again, unless you're Reaper. The thing after that is that also, if you can, possibly play a DPS that can burst the tanks, or that can at least burst tanks with the help of your own tanks. Now, often right now, we don't really have any DPS that can, like, completely one-shot tanks without, like a Mercy right-click or a Zenyatta Orb, but we do have quite a few heroes that can do very well with your own tanks. Some good examples are Hanzo with his E, Reaper if you get a headshot or two, and then McCree with his E and with his right-click. The thing is, these characters by themselves cannot kill tanks. And if you try to go in by yourself with these guys and try to kill a tank, well, more often than not, the enemy Ana is just going to heal them, Zenyatta's going to heal them, or the enemy Lucio's going to heal them, and you aren't really going to have any effective damage. The thing that you have to try to do in this game, which really makes, DPS kind of hard to play right now, is that you have to coordinate with your tanks when you're going to try to go for your burst. For example, you have to say in the mic chat, if you possibly can, or type it down, after I do a certain, initiation, you guys got to come in with me. But you have to be like, when I'm walking up, tanks get close range, tanks start to shoot the enemy tanks, and then you hit the enemy tank with your E as Hanzo, and then you can kill them. Or, in the same sense, let's say that you have a D.Va on your team, you tell D.Va go in, and then you immediately come right behind her, and as well, try to get a few shots with your Reaper. And that finally could also work with McCree, especially with people like Roadhog. Really, there's a lot of situations where you can easily combo with your tanks, and where you really have to combo with your tanks. If you're trying to get kills without comboing with your tanks, without trying to, combo like a Reaper with a Roadhog or anything like that, you're really not going to get much kills, because simply put, DPS doesn't have enough damage to kill these people. But if you combo with your tanks, and if you go together, you can get a lot of kills, and just take them out pretty stinking quickly, which is kind of nice. Especially someone like Hanzo, get an E, you can just maul through tanks. Another thing that I also really like to say and like to tell you guys is to try to always get a height advantage. Now, normally when I'm playing DPS, or at least in previous metas, you know, height advantages were nice, but people like Widowmaker and people like McCree kind of countered those a little bit, so they really didn't matter as much. But right now, height advantages are extremely important if you are trying to play DPS. Mainly for the fact that a lot of tanks really kind of suck shooting upward, and either the enemy tank will have to shoot you or have to shoot your team, and it'll be really hard for them to shoot you, so they're probably just going to ignore you a little bit, shoot your team, and you can get your damage out a lot easier. As well, you know, getting headshots is a lot easier from, you know, up there, getting your ults off, getting all your nice abilities off, and just getting more damage out, really. And yeah, it's really hard for the majority of the tanks to actually kind of hurt you. The only one that you can have a bit of a problem with is D.Va, if D.Va keeps trying to shift up to you. But if you do have a Roadhog on your team, you could say, please kind of save your shift, wait for the D.Va to start to go towards me, shift her back, and then kill her. Again, you do need a little bit more team coordination, which is kind of hard to come by in solo queue, but if you can try to get it, I feel like that can really work. And overall, DPS does need quite a bit of team coordination right now if you can try to play them. But yeah, height advantage is definitely a very strong thing to have. Finally, the thing I'd say is probably one of the most important things that you can do as a DPS is to, no matter what, save your ultimate until you can combo it with your tanks. Because otherwise, let's be honest, your ult is kind of worthless. Most of the DPS can't really actually shred through all of the healing from the supports, through all the blocking from the tanks. But if you happen to have somebody, you know, like a Reaper ult, and then you go in one there's also like a D.Va ult, well, the D.Va ult blows up the Ryan shield, and then Reaper can do a lot of damage to the enemy team, and you can go in from there. As well with this, you could have someone like a Zarya shoot her ult out, and then have someone like a Hanzo go for his ult, and you can just wipe through the enemy team, because that actually does burn through all the tanks, which is really cool. Overall, you do need to save your ult, and you do need to combo with the tanks. I know that most people, you know, think that this is an easy thing to do. They're like, you know, I always combo. But I often see offense heroes, you know, just trying to use their ultimate at a last-ditch effort to try to save, you know, like first point or something like that. They waste it, and then they are kind of useless for the rest of the game, or for the rest of the match until they have their ult again. And they can't combo with any of the other, you know, tank ults, and it really does become a bit of a problem. I'd say just try to save your ult, try to combo with people, and you'll find a lot more use with your ult, and you'll just be able to have a lot more kills with it, because otherwise, you honestly won't find many kills with offense hero ultimates when it's just by themselves. Now to a final few other things you can actually do in game. One is to try out supports that work really well with your insta-gibs. A good example is Mercy and also Zenyatta. A really great example of this is looking at, again, Hanzo, and then looking at, you know, most of the tank characters in the game. When Hanzo, you know, charges up and then shoots his E at the enemy, well, if it's against a tank, it'll do a lot of damage, but they're still going to live, and you really can't one-shot them, and then they can often just be healed straight back up, unless you can get like 2 headshots in a row after that. But if you happen to have a Mercy on your team, so you can right-click you, give you the damage boost, and then you can E and one-shot really any tank in the game. I think except for D.Va, maybe you can't kill her. But anyone else, you can really one-shot, and that's pretty stinking amazing to be able to do. Of course, it's kind of weird because you will have to switch one of your, you know, characters, one of your supports that would usually be playing Lucio or Ana, and I'd really recommend more of the Lucio. But it can be really nice, and especially if you're very, you know, reliant and you very heavily want to play DPS, it's kind of necessary in a lot of situations. You have to be able to either one-shot these tanks or be able to one-shot the supports. You really can't do much else right now, and just doing consistent damage really just isn't cutting it. So if you could try to get one of those characters on your team, if someone on your team happens to play one of those characters and they're really getting bored of Ana or Lucio, well, maybe try that. That's really helped me in a few games also. And the final thing that has especially been very useful when I'm having like 2 to 3 people on my team is setting up traps to take out the tanks. Now, the thing about tanks is that they take a while to kill, and if they're with their team, well, they're very strong. But if you can get them away from their team, you've got them right where you want them, especially as DPS. So how could you maybe do this? Well, some of my favorite traps, one that's pretty obvious, is to simply just have a Mei standing somewhere, and then when the tank walks around the corner or walks through the entrance, you put down your E, and you got the tank by themselves, and your whole team can focus him, and then take him out. That's a pretty simple thing that actually works quite often as a kind of DPS character. As well with this, you can do a very similar thing with Junkrat. Just have a lot of people looking where his E is, and then when the tank walks on that E, well, you shoot all your damage and try to kill him instantly. And one of my favorite final things to do is to put a shift somewhere in a corner or just somewhere that you're expecting that a tank might go. You put that shift down, and when the tank happens to walk through that entrance, such as like, you know, Eichenwald, all those entrances, you put your shift down, the tank walks through there, and you shoot all your damage there and just try to one-shot him. Really, this is just kind of setting up a few traps and trying to one-shot the tanks, and as well trying to, I guess, one-shot the supports. And that's a very nice way to kill these guys. Otherwise, it can be a little bit hard, but yeah, setting up traps can really be useful if you can set them up. This is especially nice if you have 2 to 3 people on your team that are playing with you. By yourself, it might not work as well, though. And there you go, that's at least all the stuff I've really thought of that can kind of help you during this tank meta. As well, as I said in the beginning, though, if you do want to win a lot more games, you should probably just be playing a tank or just be playing a support. But I know a lot of people don't really like playing those characters, so I did hope that I can give you guys a few things that you could try to put into your game in order to win a few more games. But yeah, I just wanted to declare that again. Anyways, as always, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what you've been trying to do as a DPS main, be it, offense or defense main, as they're both really DPS. And if it's been working at all, what you've tried to been accomplishing. As well with this, the tank meta really isn't the best at lower elos, like, lower platinum. And I see a lot of offense characters, so you really don't have to worry, I guess, as much down there. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.